Good evening, and welcome back this week to Balancing the Scales of Justice. I am Shirley Millwood, and I'm glad to have you all back with us this week. I am a lawyer in my office is in Alexandria, Alabama, here in Calhoun County. I've been practicing law. April will be 15 years. I've been in the legal field for 26 years. I have practiced law in Calhoun County and surrounding counties. In fact, I've practiced law around the entire state of Alabama and before the federal court during my career. And so each week we like to come to you and maybe discuss some legal issues that are going on, talk about some legal issues that may or may not provide you with some information that, or provide you with information that may or may not assist you in some things that you have going on, or maybe some things that are going on in the lives of your loved ones or your friends. And so we hope to be able to bring information to you that can assist you and provide some assistance to your loved ones each week. And the facts of every case is different. So when we're talking and giving legal advice here, it's not tailored to a specific case because the facts can be different of each case. So it's an overview of the processes that are required in the legal field and some of the laws and the rules that we have to follow. But it isn't just specifically tailored to one specific case. And so if you do have a specific case, I would encourage you to consult with an attorney, but our advice is to give you a general overview regarding each situations. And so I hope that you're finding this to be helpful, and I hope that we can continue to provide helpful information for you. And this evening I have with me Courtney Lyman. Did I say that right?
Lynham.
Lynham, I'm sorry, I was
okay.
close.
It happens often.
And so Courtney is on the morning show here at TV 24. And she just happened to be standing around, and I pulled her in to come in and be a guest with me, so we could talk about some things. It just kind of helps, and I have someone to answer questions. Yeah. I've been doing this for so long, I have a tendency to just kind of get started talking and not knowing when to shut up because there's so much information to provide that I kind of get lost in that. So it helps to have someone to ask me questions and give me some guidance, and also to help to hear from other people's perspectives as well, because I've been doing this just for so long. I mean, it's been my whole life, and this is what I know. So sometimes I have a tendency to get lost in those legalese and all of those legal things and different cases that I've been involved in. So thank you for being here and
Thanks for asking me.
Being here to ask some questions and maybe give me some more tailor specific things that we can talk about to hopefully help our audience.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad that I was still here today when you came in. So thanks for asking me to join.
Me too.
I think this is such a great show to be able to provide some insight for people who just have some basic questions. One of the things that I know has been something that's happened in my life and a lot of my friends, I mean, we know a lot of people who have gone through divorces, right? And a lot of times, I'm not sure the percentage of it, but it seems like oftentimes when people get a divorce, there are children involved under the age of 18. And so those are some of that's the question that I have, how to best handle a situation, because we have to work in the best interest of the child, right? And a lot of times when a divorce happens, the spouses tend to kind of have a battle against each other almost, and so the kid kind of gets caught up in that. So what's some advice that you can give someone who's going through a divorce with children?
And there were three things I just pulled from that you told me, which is why I was getting my notepad. There are divorces that are both contested and uncontested, that involve children and don't involve children. And the other thing I wanted to say about that is that in Alabama, and this is kind of one of those general answers that a lot of people, I don't want to say a lot of people, but I still get questions about, and that is, in the state of Alabama, a child is considered not to reach the age of majority until they're 19 years of age.
Okay.
In Georgia, it's 18, but in Alabama, it's 19. And so between the ages of 18 and 19, there are a lot of nuances, and it's very, there can be some blurred lines, because if you're a parent obligated to pay child support, you're going to be ordered to pay child support until you're 19 years old, until the child is 19 years of age. There used to be provisions for some post-minority support beyond the age of 19, But Ex parte Christopher, which was an opinion from our higher courts that came out some years ago, ruled that it was unconstitutional to require a parent to be responsible for financially responsible for a child beyond the age of 19. And one nuance to that is if you have a special needs child who became disabled prior to that child, that child became disabled during that child's childhood. And so there are provisions there that would require a payment of support beyond the child's minority. So anyway, back to your other question. I just wanted to put that out there because it was a good moment to interject that and to provide that information to our viewers. We have to, our courts, especially here in Calhoun County, and pretty much everywhere I go across the state, their primary objective is what's in the best interest of the child. And of course, for that, I'm thankful. And I tell my clients when they come in, the judge, I don't want to say the judge doesn't care about you, but the judge cares less about you and less about your spouse than they do your child. And so they are always going to put the best interest of your child first and foremost. And all of the rulings that come from our courts are always tailored to be the best interest of the child. And in fact, our higher courts, that's pretty much what everything regarding a child custody case is about. First and foremost, it's about the best interest of the child. And so we're very fortunate that our judges, our whole entire judicial system is based around what's in the best interest of the child. When parents come in, or I have someone to come in for a divorce, I like it when they can agree to custody, because when they can agree, they're putting aside their differences and their personal opinions about their child's parents and looking at what's in the best interest of the child, which is what we all are going to be tailored to do. And so when they do that, they're in line with our court system and our judicial system to make sure that they're making decisions that are best for their best interest of their children. Unfortunately, there are a lot of times that we don't have agreements and we end up in court and fighting over these. I feel like it's my best piece of advice that I give to parents. I don't know if it is in fact the best or not, or the best for them, for their situation, but I always tell them, if you can go home and throw this agreement or this order in the bottom of your filing cabinet drawer and never look at it again, that is the very best thing you can do for your child. Because when you're doing that, that means you're making decisions based on what is in the best interest of your child and your family, instead of having to do what a judge has ordered you to do, instead of having to follow the court's order. Now look, I'm not telling you to not follow a court's order. I want to throw that out there because our judges take that very serious as well. But I say that because in all of our agreements and orders, there is a provision in there that says one parent has custody and the other parent has a visitation schedule, and this is the minimum visitation that parent is allowed to have. Sometimes there's shared custody schedules. We may have a child spending a week with one parent and a week with the other parent. But regardless of how that is spelled out, we always have a provision in there that says in any and all times that the parties may agree. We also have a provision in there, it'll either be worded that way or it's worded that unless the parties may agree otherwise, or there's a provision that says the parties may vary from this agreement, with the mutual agreement of the parties. So I'm not saying anyone to violate a court order, but because that's in there, that gives those parents the ability to be flexible in their schedule and make decisions that are in the best interest of their family and in the best interest of their children. So I always tell them, if you can go home and put this in the bottom of your filing cabinet drawer and never look at it again, then that's, my opinion, the best thing you can do for your child. That also stems from me being a product of a divorced parents. My parents divorced when I was 2 years old, and I lived primarily with my father. I visited with my mother regularly. I mean, it was, if I said, hey, Daddy, I want to go to my mama's, it was okay, you can go. there were never any arguments, fusses, qualms. My parents always got along. You know, both of my parents remarried fairly quickly after their divorce, and so I had step parents, and my parents were married to my step parents until they've all passed away now. Wow. So they were together forever, and so anyway, we had a good blend. I have a blend of half brothers and stepsisters, but my mother and my father and my stepmother and stepfather, they always got along. It didn't matter if they didn't like each other. They may or may not like each other. If they didn't, I didn't know that.
Right.
It didn't matter to me. I never had to worry about if I'm going to invite my daddy to the birthday party or my mama to the birthday party. When I was in a beauty pageant at school, or you know, I had school activities going on, I knew that all four of my parents were going to be there, and I knew that I didn't have anything to worry about. When I started having children of my own, you know, I wasn't worried about which of my parents am I going to invite to be at the hospital, you know, when I go in labor and have their grandbabies. I never had to worry about my parents fussing and arguing. I mean, they would all, if you know, just thinking back to like when I had a birthday party at my house for my daughter, and all four of my parents were there, you would think they were best friends. You know,
it's wonderful.
It was, and you know, I can remember my father taking me over to my mom and stepdad's house, and us pulling up in the yard, and my stepdad's out on the barbecue grill grilling, and he's like, well, hey, y'all get out and come over here and eat. Okay, they'd get out and they'd sit down and eat together and just hang out. And I know that's not always possible with every couple, but if you can do that, you don't have to be best friends. But if you can be cordial and you can get along and you can be at the same activities and the same events together, it's amazing. And it's not just like, you know, and I say that from a child's perspective, from you know, my experience growing up. And so I try to share that with my clients when my clients are in the office, to let them know that, you know, as a child, this is how I felt. And so anyway, I do try to share that and hope that I can inspire others. And I think it has over the years, that it has inspired some other parents to realize, because one thing about it, you may be divorcing each other, but you're not divorcing your children, and your children are always going to be there. And your children are always
going to need both of you.
Not only do they need both of you, but your children love both of you unconditionally. And that is an unconditional love that will not ever change, at least not in their minority. It would be, you know, in their adulthood, if ever so, but definitely not when they're a child. We are going to a commercial break, and we will be back here shortly and see what else we can talk about.
You may not believe it, but it's true. The 2024 Team 1 Chevys are here. All 23-24 Silverado light duties have 2.9% financing for 72 months. The hottest new 24 Team 1 Chevy Blazer, 1.9% financing and no payments till April. And the #1 selling family vehicle, the Equinox. 24 models. You got it. 1.9% financing and no payments till April. Team 1 Chevrolet, home of the best people, the best service, period.
Some say college isn't for single parents or people who work full-time. I'm here to prove them wrong. I'm a first-generation American, the father of Dion, and a non-traditional student at Gadsden State Community College. As a sergeant in the Army National Guard, I've watched soldiers with degrees progress faster in their careers. So today, I'm in school, involved in the Veterans Upward Bound program, and excited to see what's in store for my career. I truly am earning my wings at Gadsden State.
I'm Alan Parnell with Parnell Insurance Agency. We've been here in Oxford and Alabama, Tallapoosa, Georgia since 1990. With Auto Owners Insurance, we're able to give customers competitive pricing along with excellent coverages. Parnell Insurance can handle all of your personal, commercial, and life insurance needs. We have a very experienced staff, both personal and commercial. All together, we've got about 125 years experience. Come see what our insurance agency can do for you in Oxford, Alabama, and Tallapoosa, Georgia.
Auto Owners Insurance.
At Campers Unlimited, we offer a no-pressure experience, no hidden fees, and great service after the sale, making us one of the fastest-growing RV dealers in the Southeast. With our second location in Oxford, we offer a great selection of over 220 campers from top brands including Grand Design. Our mission is to help friends and family spend time together in the great outdoors. At Campers Unlimited, you aren't just a customer, you are family. Check out our inventory at campersunlimited.net or come see us at Gaston or Oxford.
Welcome back. We're back from a commercial break here at Balancing the Scales of Justice, and with Courtney Lynham.
You got
Lynham
it.
here
That's
with me.
it.
I said it correctly this time.
Yes.
We were talking about just some of the advice I give parents when they come in to see me regarding a divorce and they have children, and sometimes not a divorce, just a regular standard custody case. Mm-hmm. And I say that because there are differences. If you're filing for a divorce, it's going to be a DR case. If you're filing only to establish child custody and child support and the parents were not married, then it's a CS case. And the difference is in a DR case, we have 30-day deadlines. In a CS case, we have 14-day deadlines. So it does matter, and those lines do get crossed sometimes. But so either way, custody of a child, whether it's by divorce or just by the couple separating or not being married but yet having a child together, and we need to address a court order regarding visitation, custody, and support. And so I wanted to ask you, Courtney, you're a step-parent, right?
I'm a step-parent.
You're a
I have
stepmom.
2 stepsons. Yes, when my husband and I got together, my stepchildren were 6 and 11, and now they're 14 and 18. So it's been a journey. I don't have children myself, and so going into not just marrying, I got my husband, and then also, getting 3 guys, right?
You had a whole family, which is nice.
It has been nice. And when we first married, it was very important for us to set some not rules, but some expectations and understanding. Like, one of the things that was very important for us to understand that, they're children and they're going to come first, in our relationship came first, but also if there was something with the children, that had to be the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And there is another person if their parent, like in mine, is still involved and still around, which their mother is very involved, and so there's another person, and how to navigate that. One of the things that's very important to both of us is the children will never hear us speak unkindly of their mother. That is just not going to be something that we were ever wanting to do. And so that was something that we established head on, and it's been hard. It's been a learning curve. At this point, they're a little older, and I think we've gotten to a good point, but one of the things that we saw as an obstacle is communication. There would be times where they would need to conversate, my husband and the kid's mother, about things with the kids, of course, but then things would be like, well, I told you that in a text, or I told you I needed this, or, and then they would kind of start like a text argument, and then that would bleed into whatever we were doing at that time. So we decided it was really important to fix that, to try to figure out a better way of communicating.
How did y'all fix that?
We found an app. There's an app for that. And it has been so wonderful. I think we've been utilizing the app for probably 4, possibly 5 years now, and it has helped everyone. I mean, I know she's very happy about having the app, and I know my husband's very happy about having the app. I'm on it as well, but I have limited involvement. So there's a few different ways that you can communicate through this tool that we do. There is messaging, okay? So every message, you have to have a subject for the message, and nothing can be deleted. And
right.
Yeah, everything is on there. So let's say it's Christmas. We have a tab that says Christmas. If it's something that I need to be pulled into, I get included. If it's just something that the two of them need to conversate about, they play sports. So we'll have a tab that says, the child's name baseball, and then they can talk about that. And then there's a financial tab. So if there's a finance request, hey, I cover this is your responsibility monetarily, but I covered it and I need reimbursement, then she can go on there and put what that is and add a receipt if needed or whatever. And so she can request financial reimbursement, and they can talk about finances on that tab.
And real quick, let me ask you with that, is there a way in that app to pay? Like if he says, hey, I picked up prescriptions for $30 and you owe me $15 for your half, is there a way to send that money through that app, or is that something you would do outside of the app?
You know, that's a great question. We've never tried to do it through the app. I don't
Okay.
think there is, but you can mark it. So once she receives a payment, however we pay it, digitally or check or whatever it is, they can mark that it's paid. So there is a way to say, okay, this is handled and paid.
Okay, good.
And there's a calendar function. And so now the kids are, you know, they come to our house whenever they want to. The oldest drives. So I mean, you know, but when they were younger, and like, let's say it's my husband's week with them, but she wants to take them on a vacation, then she can request like, hey, I have plans this weekend. Can we change the custody here? So you're not texting, well, can I get them on this date, and I'll switch you this. You can actually do it all on the calendar on the app.
And then you don't have to worry about forgetting. And
because we can't remember everything. I can barely keep up with what I have going on.
And so is that kind of what got you started using the app? Is
the communication tool of it. And like I want them here, can you have them there? I want this weekend, can you do that weekend? And also the communication, because there was a lot of things like, well, I told you this, I text you, and then going through hundreds of text strands to try to find out, oh yeah, well, I forgot. So everything is there. And we even have extended family. So like, let's say that we need help with one of the kids, transporting them to this game or whatever. You can bring in like other people. Like her mother is very helpful, and so she gets included. So like if there's, you know, hey, this need is happening, can you come in? And like everybody can be on the same. So you can include or exclude whomever from the conversation.
I love that.
It's been
because
wonderful.
It's more of a family app instead of just a co-parenting app.
Yep.
And so what we use a lot, there are two apps that we use a lot, and I know there are a bunch of them, but just these are kind of our go-tos, is we use Our Family Wizard and Talking Parents. And we a lot of times we'll decide on those based on the financial status of the parties, because one of the apps does cost more than the others, and some just do not have that extra money to spend on that. And so we're always mindful of that, because we try to be conservative, and we're mindful of that. And so there's one app that costs a lot less, or maybe it costs nothing for the basic features. But our courts will a lot of times order the parties to communicate with each other through the apps. And then another thing, you know, you were talking about the payment. Well, you would pay outside that app. And so, you know, our judges here in Calhoun County, they have some really good language that they use for those apps, and it has all of the do's and don'ts in the language in the court order that's ratified in the order for the parents to do. And one of the things that judge says is, you know, all of the communication should be done through this app, except in the event of an emergency.
Yes, of course. If there's an emergency, or, you know, yes, absolutely, text or call. But there are some things, I mean, we would see, there were times where we were having, you know, dinner, it was just the two of us, and then there would be a text message that would come in, and then 30 minutes later, they're talking about something that doesn't even, like, is not needed right now, that could have waited, you know?
Right.
And so it's like,
right.
And then I mean, sometimes people get frustrated at their, you know,
Yes,
exes. I mean, there might
yes.
sometimes be a reason why you're not married.
Right.
And so we just found, like, unless it's an emergency, everything needs to go through that app. And I think it's made everyone's life easier. I know that she's really happy about having it, and I mean, I think it's just been beneficial.
Good.
And it's been beneficial for the kids, because they don't ever have to see that frustration or that text coming through from, you know, because kids pick up on way more than we give them credit for. I mean, they know, they see these things, they're intuitive, especially if there's a rift between their parents.
Absolutely.
They pick up on that.
They absolutely
And
do.
we don't ever want them to have to carry that burden or carry that stress, because it's not for them.
And that's a wonderful thing, because that's another thing that I tell my clients. Never say anything negative about the other parent to your child. When you tell a child something negative about their other parent, you're telling that child that one half of them is bad. And children just can't process that.
And they shouldn't have to.
You're right, they shouldn't have to. And you know, and I can't tell you how many times I've said that over the years, is keep your opinions to yourself. Don't say anything negative about the other parent. Don't allow anyone else to say anything negative about the other parent in the presence of the children or to the children. and in fact, our courts here have what we call the best interest of the children language, and that's how it's titled, but us lawyers call it the do-good language.
Okay.
And there's, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 provisions, and some of those, we have what we call a boilerplate language of the best interest of the children provisions that we use, but then we will go in and tailor those to each specific case or the specific facts. We may have a situation where, one parent is dating too many people too frequently and exposing those number of individuals to the children, and of course we don't want that because we have children who are adjusting to this major life change, and the last thing they need is for someone else to immediately be brought into their life, and then the other last thing they need is for multiple people to be in and out constantly because they're already trying to learn to adjust and cope with their parents' divorce. And so sometimes we'll include the language that neither parent shall have neither parent shall have anyone of the opposite sex unrelated by blood or marriage to be present overnight while the children are present. So, if the children aren't there and they're with the other parent, do whatever you want.
Sure.
But when the children are there, we have those provisions. And so all of those provisions are in there for that. The reason the title is the best interest of the children. So we do that. The best interest language is in every single custody order that comes out of Calhoun County. Now, maybe not always in other counties, generally it is, but there is always going to be that in an order coming out of our county. The other thing is the Relocation Act. That is in every single order, custody order that's generated in Alabama, because it's a law that's in the code section, but it's also, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the code says it's required to be put in the orders, but even if it's not in the order, it's a law and it's generally known, but it's just a reminder to the parents and to let the parents be aware of it. But that best interest language, the other thing I was going to say about that app is, so what Judge tells us, when I say tells our clients, is if you do have, you make a payment outside of the app, or you make a phone call that's outside of the app, screenshot that and then upload that into the app.
That's a good idea.
And then that way there is no question, like you said, she'll go in there and check it when it's paid, but if you screenshot that cash out payment or Venmo payment or whichever it is, and you upload that into the app, it's always going to be there. It's not going to go away. Excuse me.
Yeah, because you can't delete things, and I like that about the app, is that you can't delete anything.
And here's the other thing about the app from a lawyer's perspective is we love it. I'll just tell you, as a lawyer, I love it, and I love it when I'm preparing for trial. I can't tell you how many times I have had clients to come in my office and they've had to sit down and go through and screenshot all of their text messages because we need those for evidence at trial. And the thing about that is, and just to throw this out there as well, when you're screenshotting, the last sentence of one screenshot should be the first sentence of the next screenshot, so that you show the flow of conversation. Also, because a lot of times our phones nowadays, it'll give you the date and the time a message came in. Well, that thread may continue for a day, but further on down in there, it's not going to tell you exactly when it came in. So when you're screenshotting those, you should always go back to the one that tells you the date and the time the message came in, and you start there, even though that part may not be relevant to the part of the conversation that we need to introduce into evidence. But you're going to have it, because we need that. Us lawyers need that for authentication purposes. We have to know the date and the time. You also can't go in and omit portions of a conversation, because you have to have the entirety of the conversation, even though 3/4 of the conversation may not be relevant. It may have nothing to do with what we're doing, but it shows the flow of the conversation and how we led from A to Z and where we are now, the part that's important for us to be introducing at trial. So that's one thing. But I have had binders. I've had stacks and stacks and stacks of pages of text messages where we've printed those off. And the beautiful thing about the parenting app, there is a way for you to go in and request a PDF, and you get that PDF, you send it to your lawyer, and for us, we've got like a big book that we're flipping through reading, and where I would have this, just assuming copy paper is a stack this high, I'm going to have a PDF this much. Anyway, and it helps. It's self-authenticating as well. But anyway,
another thing, a benefit I'm thinking is that if you're going through, let's say that these conversations happened and you've already gotten past to them like emotionally, and you're going through and rereading these to screenshot, it kind of brings up some of those negative feelings and it brings that back to the top. And so,
you're exactly right. Courtney, this 30 minutes has gone by too
Oh my
fast. I
goodness.
had more information I wanted to share, but we'll catch it another time. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you for tuning in, and hope to see you back next week.
wow, that was quick.
That was quick.